Palestine on Monday, Israeli genocidal troops shelled the Nusayrat refugee camp in the Gaza Strip, leaving many dead and wounded. According to medical sources, at least 5 people were killed and over 20 were injured. The northwest of the Palestinian enclave where this refugee camp is located has been under attack since early Monday morning. In this context, Zionist troops hit a school that housed refugees, killing one. So far, Israel's genocidal onslaught has killed 45,259 people in Gaza, more than 70% of whom are women and children, a figure that is not conclusive as there are thousands of bodies still under the rubble. Also in Palestine, the Israeli army continues to carry out attacks against the Kamal Adwan hospital. According to local media, medical personnel made an urgent call for the intervention of the health center in order to protect patients and medical staff as the situation deteriorates. They also stressed that the attacks caused extensive damage and cut off communication with medical teams, particularly in the women's maternity and neonatal wards. This is the second attack in less than 24 hours, leaving at least 3 dead and 24 wounded. UNRWA Commissioner General Philip Lazzarini stressed that all the rules of war have been violated against Palestine. Through his social media, the UNRWA Commissioner General reiterated his calls for a ceasefire and the immediate release of hostages, stressing that there has been an escalation of the genocide against Gaza in the last 24 hours. He also reported that more civilians have been killed and wounded and that attacks on schools and hospitals have become a regular occurrence. In this regard, the Commissioner further stressed that a ceasefire in Gaza is long overdue. And winter is raging in the Gaza Strip, and many of the nearly 2 million Palestinians displaced by Israel's devastating genocide are struggling to protect themselves from the wind, cold, and rain. Let's see.
There is a shortage of blankets and warm clothing, little wood for the fire, and the patched tents and tarpaulins in which the families live are becoming increasingly threadbare after months of intensive use, and with hardly any humanitarian aid due to the Israeli blockade. All this while the cold winter is becoming more and more present with no relief for the families.
We go inside our tents after sunset and don't go out because it is very cold, and it gets colder by midnight.
ندخل على الخيمة صحيح نعاني من برد يعني خاصة في أواسط الليل في الساعة 12 واحدة تنتين.
My 7-year-old daughter almost cries at night because of how cold she is.
يعني إذا كانت تبكي في الليل من كثرة وشدة البرد. حتى لو بدنا نولع نار وين بدنا نولع نار في مكان مغلق.
Even if we want to light a fire, where would we light it in an enclosed place like this, inside a tent? Even outside the tent, we have fear because of the occupation aircraft. More than one accident happened and several tents were struck due to setting fires. So we suffer from this issue, and we rejoice when the morning comes, because we suffer from extreme cold at night.
شديد جدا جدا في أواسط الليل.
The United Nations has warned of people living in precarious makeshift shelters who may not survive the winter. At least 945,000 people are in need of winter supplies, which have become prohibitively expensive in Gaza due to shortage. In addition, the United Nations also fears that infectious diseases, which spiked last winter, will rise again due to increased malnutrition. The United Nations Reliefs and Works Agency for Palestinian Refugees has been planning all year for winter in Gaza. But the aid it has been able to get into the territory is not even close to being enough for the people. The agency distributed 6,000 tents over the past 4 weeks in northern Gaza, but was unable to get them to other parts of the Strip. Some 22,000 tents are blocked in Jordan, and 600,000 blankets and 33 truckloads of mattresses have remained in Egypt since the summer, because the agency does not have Israeli approval or a safe route to get them into Gaza, and because it has had to prioritize desperately needed food aid. Meanwhile, the displaced are trying to survive on what little they have.
No proper clothes, no socks, nothing. We never expected to live such a life. My house was so good in the north. Our blankets are very thin. They never warms us. We feel the moisture from the ground, and the cold is killing us. We wake up in the morning freezing. Do you know what freezing means? We are shivering from the cold.
The Israeli government has said that it has coordinated with various international agencies to send aid to Gaza to prepare the coastal enclave for winter. But the truth is that no aid has arrived, and winter now seems to be another weapon in the hands of Israel to continue carrying out its genocide.
In other news, Palestinian musicians tour refugee camps to teach displaced children how to sing and play instruments. All this in the midst of the Israeli genocide against the Gaza Strip. Let's see.
Despite the poor conditions resulting from the humanitarian crisis affecting the Palestinians, groups of musicians decided to give music lessons in the Rafah camps.
My colleagues are helping me with this initiative. The idea came about because of the difficult conditions in Rafah, where I was staying in a shelter for artists during the war. The psychological conditions were very bad, and it occurred to me to take up the guitar and sing with the children in the camp.
The idea of this Palestinian artist is to promote a different perspective of life, despite the chaotic environment and the lack of requirements to meet the daily needs of the population.
The people in the camps did not fully understand the idea of music, as their priorities during the war were food, water, and shelter. Despite these difficulties, I insisted on my position and continued with the initiative. Thank God, people began to realize the importance of music.
Soon, however, a group of musicians joined the tour of each refugee camp to bring a little joy through music and art in the midst of the devastation caused by the Israeli occupation in the Palestinian territory.
We had left Beit Hanan. We didn't have any musical instruments. I spent 3 months looking for an instrument so that I could teach the children. Despite all these difficulties, we managed to carry on and bring joy to the children in the midst of these difficult circumstances.
The Palestinian people are making efforts to maintain hope in the midst of the difficult circumstances they have been facing for the past year and 2 months, when Israel intensified the siege that led to the genocide they are living through today, which has claimed more than 45,259 martyrs.